Hi, I'm Erik Paulsen. I've been spending time in the district today, actually visiting several women-owned small businesses, touring out throughout the district. But I also wanted to take the time, make sure when I got back to the office, to answer questions that I get directly from you, my constituents. And so we picked out a few that we received this week by email. The first one comes from Jean in Maple Plain. And Jean says, I always appreciate reading about politicians working together and compromising to do the work of the people. I disagree with your position regarding food labeling and government trying to help make the right decisions. I'm sure you're not unaware of the health and obesity crisis issues that have penetrated every level in our country. The costs of allowing big business to market foods that become compulsive and unhealthy are causing our government and people huge unnecessary problems and expenses. I appreciate it if you take another approach to help fix this crisis to drive out controls. Thank you, and I appreciate your dedication and work. Well, first of all, thanks, Jean, for that feedback. And what Jean is referring to is actually that the government was pushing forward new regulations that actually I was critical of that make it much more difficult for companies in our district, such as General Mills or in Minnesota, to market food products to children. And as an example, I thought the government regulations would go too far in the sense that it would not even allow athletes to be put on a Wheaties box. And I think that's just a little over the top. I do know that obesity is a crisis. It does need to be addressed. And I will tell you that as a co-chair and a founder of the Wellness Caucus in Congress, I'm helping drive attention to how we can fix chronic disease management issues and really address health care through fixing obesity. And so I agree with the perspective that it is a crisis, but I think the government regulations do go over the top. Thanks, Jean, for that input. We also received another email from Tim in Edina, who wrote in and said, I'm writing to urge you to support the pending free trade agreements with Colombia, South Korea, and Panama. These free trade agreements are critical to revitalizing the American manufacturing industry, to increase our exports, to create quality jobs in the United States, and to enable American companies to better compete in today's global marketplace. Free trade is one of the best hopes for the long-term success of the American manufacturing industry. Thanks, Tim, for that feedback. I actually agree with that. In fact, last week, Congress, for the first time in over 15 years, passed all three of these agreements, the most significant progress on trade legislation in 15-year time period. And so it's going to help our manufacturing, it's going to help market medical devices that we produce here in Minnesota, and ultimately is going to be a win-win in the sense that we will now be able to sell American products overseas without paying a tariff. Because right now, unfortunately, these countries can import their products to our country without paying a tariff or a tax. And so this is going to put us on an even level playing field, and we will be able to have more sales to more customers and ultimately create more jobs. I want to encourage all of you to provide your continued feedback, offer your questions. We'll continue doing this video series on the input that I get from Twitter, Facebook, and by email. And don't forget to check out my new designed website at paulsen.house.gov. And as always, stay in touch.